Hazlitt, Holland-Hibbert and Frankie Rossi are delighted to be hosting this exhibition of Euan Uglow's paintings, the first since taking on representation of the artist's estate. It is also 50 years since Uglow's first major retrospective at the Whitechapel Art Gallery in 1974. That show was curated by Catherine Lampert, who has also selected the works for this exhibition.
Euan Uglow thought every aspect of a picture should be thought through by the artist.
Every brush stroke was almost a struggle to get right.
So early in the morning I usually stick the picture right away from me so I can see the whole thing. And I just gaze at it stupidly, thinking, what the hell am I going to do?
At first he was rather overwhelming and almost frightening figure. I was a little bit scared of him, actually. You know, he had many facets because he was a reclusive but yet incredibly sociable at times. He was a man of contradiction. He struck me as being almost monk-like, and the fact that the house was without any comfort at all, that I'd never met anyone quite like that before.
He was a great counsellor to his subjects, and he would tell them things about art history, how to cook certain things. He was really good company, and it all went to being disciplined but not cold or aloof person at all.
He turned from simply, you know, being the painter and me being the model, and he sort of gradually became an avuncular figure and a friend.
He certainly wasn't daunted by something complex or pose that was hard for this person, woman usually, to hold. It was all exciting for him, the best thing he did in his life.
The light becomes magic at a certain time, and the whole thing takes on the fire of why you're trying to paint it.
He liked for the conditions to be very consistent for work, so the time of day. Ideally he liked cloudy, grey English light, and because he worked on paintings a particular day of a week, depending on the sitter, he had to resume painting by knowing where he had stopped the day or 4 days before. The subject had to relate to the proportions and organization of the interior of the painting.
He'd measure it 3 or 4 times, a little cross, and just to be trebly sure that it was the right proportion, the right mark to make. All I could hear was him puffing and puffing as he was sort of agonizing for the right measurements. And he joked once that when he was painting somebody, she got engaged, married and divorced in that time. Being 21, I felt quite awkward standing there completely naked, all revealed. It wasn't something I was used to. He could kind of tell I wasn't comfortable with it. And so he said, look, you just relax. And I fell naturally into the position that I was painted in, which I then regretted deeply, because even though it looks relaxed, it was quite a hard pose to maintain for 3/4 of an hour.
Very often people see, Uglow in books, and when you come across them, it's fascinating to look carefully. Not only is it sometimes very precise, there's a little still life of polygon of shapes, and each edge is so particular, but the color is radiant. In this particular space, they really come to life. It's terrific.
One has in one's mind the magic moment when one's painting something. And this is when the model is to do with one's idea, and the light is to do with one's idea. And you get a few magic moments, perhaps once a week, when all of a sudden you know what you're painting about.
It's as if he's in the room and he's back there with me. I can sort of sense him. That's the sort of magic of art, and particularly of his art, and the way it is timeless.